So you may have seen there's been protests erupting across Iran right now. Why the currency has plunged and their lives are getting so miserable that as much as they have fear of protesting against this authoritarian regime, well, on the other hand, what happens if they don't? More misery and destruction. And this is a remarkable video that I saw of the former Saudi foreign minister, Adir al-Jubeir, who, this was from a while back, was asked not so long ago about what his views were on Iran and the Iranian regime. And here he is, he was predicting that this would happen. Have a watch of his really powerful words. And it's remarkable hearing this again from a Saudi official or former official. Have a watch.
I wonder if you could do a kind of balance sheet for us of how the Iranians are doing in terms of their efforts to establish their hegemony in the region. They seem to be, notwithstanding all your efforts, more ensconced in Yemen. They seem to be well on their way to establishing a pro-Iranian government in Iraq. In Syria, despite all the efforts, they seem to be well entrenched there as well. And then, of course, in Lebanon with Hezbollah. So I wonder how you see it from Riyadh, whether the efforts to contain and pressure them are actually working yet.
I have no doubt that they're working and that they will continue to work. In Yemen, they're losing. In Iraq, their position is not what it was a few years ago. In Syria, over the long run, they will lose. And in Lebanon, Hezbollah is going to change. No doubt about it. The Iranians are going to face tremendous pressure, economic pressure, and political pressure as a consequence of the sanctions that are being placed on them. We see their currency dropping incredibly. We see inflation up tremendously. We see budget deficits. We see an inability to sell oil. And we see rising discontent inside Iran. That's not a nice picture. If you go beyond the Middle East, the Iranian position in Africa is a skeleton of what it was 3 or 4 years ago. Iran is isolated in the Islamic world. Their position in places like Bangladesh and Malaysia and Indonesia, fraction of what it was 3 years ago. And so I think the pressures are tightening. In the Middle East, like I said, you have the 4 spots. We're dealing with it. And it took them 35 years or so to entrench themselves. We will work on pushing them back. And I have no doubt that in the end, we will succeed. The Iranian position is not sustainable. You have 2 visions for the Middle East. You have a vision of light and progress and modernity and moderation and innovation and taking care of your people. And you have a vision of darkness, which is about sectarianism and terrorism and murder and domination. And that's the Iranian model. Will not prevail over the long run. History shows us that that model is doomed to failure. And I have no doubt the same will happen in Iran, and I hope that Iran can have a government that is responsible, that is a member of the community of nations in good standing, so that the Iranian people, who have a great history and a great past, can lead normal lives.
On the short term, immediate term, how do you expect Iran to react to the pressures by the administration, particularly in Yemen and Syria? Some people are afraid of revenge. Some people are afraid that they're not going to curb back their expansionism, but in fact, use other methods. And what conversation are you having with the Russians in terms of using their influence with the Iranians to pull back in Syria and in Yemen in particular? Do you have any leverage with the Russians?
The Iranians are already doing all the things you're saying. 197 ballistic missiles launched at Saudi Arabia, manufactured in Iran, operated by Hezbollah. What else can you do more than this? Trying to destabilize countries. Every day people are captured trying to send explosives and weapons into Bahrain. They're trying to recruit citizens in order to commit terrorist attacks. They're threatening to close the Strait of Hormuz. Okay, what else can the Iranians do? And if we're going to base our policy based on fear of what the Iranians may or may not do, they're already doing all the bad stuff, and they have been for 35 years, and they've been relentless. And if anything, it's accelerated, not slowed down. And especially after the signing of the JCPOA. I haven't read about one road, one hospital, one school that Iran built since they had access to billions of dollars. But I have seen missiles go to the Houthis, explosives smuggled into Bahrain, and money going to fund the war in Syria at the expense of the Iranian people. So the issue is Iran is responsible for the position it's in. Iran is the world's chief sponsor of terrorism. Iran is the one that is trying to dominate the region. Iran is the one that is sending its Quds forces and revolutionary guards into other countries to destabilize them. And that has to stop. That has to stop. Now, with regard to Russia, we have conversations with Russia. We don't talk to people about talking to the Iranians. Our view is Iran has no role in the Arab world. Our position is that Iran has no role in the Arab world other than to get out. And with Russia, our conversations are about the general situation in the region, and it's about moving Syria towards a political process. It's about our common interests in terms of energy. It's about the peace process. It's about fighting extremism and terrorism. It's about the unacceptability of interfering in the affairs of other countries. So we have a good dialogue with Russia on this. And I think that in the long run in Syria, the Iranian position is not tenable. And so we're working in that direction.
So remarkable stuff. And right now, what we're seeing, literally in the last couple of days, has been nationwide protests erupting across Iran. There's been chants of death to the dictator, and it's driven primarily by a deepening economic crisis. Before we continue, I want to quickly share a really important message. Now that a ceasefire is in place, some people might think that Israel's pain is over. But anyone who's been following what's really happening knows it is not. The toll that this war has taken on Israel's economy, on families, on ordinary people just trying to get by is enormous. That's where Leket Israel, the National Food Bank, comes in. Leket rescues surplus, nutritious food, fresh produce from farmers, and hot meals from hotels, corporate cafeterias, even IDF bases, and delivers them to Israelis who can't afford a proper meal. Every week, they are feeding 415,000 people, including Holocaust survivors, soldiers, families, and children who should never have to go hungry. Even now, requests for help keep pouring in. Families who never thought they'd need food assistance suddenly do. If you've ever asked yourself, how can I really help Israel right now? This is one of the most meaningful ways. Just $180 provides 120 meals. So if you want to support, please just click the link below in the video description and stand with Leket Israel, helping feed the people who have given so much for the country that we all care about. We've seen security forces using tear gas to disperse protesters, particularly in Tehran, near the Grand Bazaar and at universities. Students have been playing a central role, calling for demonstrations, chanting slogans that are anti-regime, targeting Khamenei. They're spreading to multiple cities right now. We've seen residents chanting from rooftops, heavy deployment of armed motorcycle-mounted security forces. And this is on the backdrop of, precisely as he predicted, Iran's currency collapsing to a record low, hitting 1.42 million rials to the dollar. There's widespread shop closures, and inflation has surged to over 42%. Food prices up to 72%, health costs up 50%. And the Iranian president, meanwhile, literally while this is happening, Masoud Pezeshkian has said, "We are now officially at war with America, Europe, and Israel." Unbelievable. It's getting a bit embarrassing and pathetic. And he's acknowledging public hardship, and he said he may step aside if he's unable to help the population. Meanwhile, Israel is welcoming the protests. Trump has warned of military action if Iran rebuilds its nuclear missile programs. And state media are, as usual, downplaying the unrest, portraying it as purely economic rather than anti-regime. And it's so hard. Can you imagine living in Iran right now? Just the psyop that the government and the media are playing on them. We're also seeing rising fuel prices, which have raised fears of renewed violence similar to deadly 2019 fuel protests. And frankly, in Iran is in a state of disarray. And this is what we've been saying overall, that when we say that the Jews are the canary in the coal mine, that anti-Semitism is just their warning flag for society, that it ends up destroying its own society. It's not just theoretical and academic. It's real. When we talk about the spiritual concepts of, I will bless those who bless Israel and curse those who curse Israel, this is real life stuff that happens. And the reason for that principle, spiritual principle, is that Israel, their job is to embody, at their best, they're meant to embody the values of the kind of world that God wants to dwell in. And so if you curse Israel, you're cursing God. You're going to end up going down a societal path that will be destructive for you, that will not be healthy, that will lead to death, not life. So we hope that Iran and the Iranian people will have the courage and strength to choose life, because right now they're seeing the fruits of cursing Israel. They're seeing the fruits of cursing God. They're seeing the fruits of choosing a theology that is an abomination, not reflective of the God of life. The Islamic Republic of Iran. For over 4 decades, its leaders have stood defiantly, their voices thundering through Tehran's streets, chanting death to Israel and waging a relentless war on the West. But what fuels this fierce, unyielding hatred? Is it politics? A grab for regional power? Or something even more profound? A theology that casts Israel and the West as cosmic enemies in a divine battle for the end of days. In this JTV Plus documentary, we embark on a journey to unravel the apocalyptic beliefs at the core of Iran's revolution. We'll uncover the sacred Shia doctrines that prophesy a world reborn through chaos, where a hidden redeemer, the Mahdi, will rise to vanquish evil, with Israel and America as the ultimate foes. We'll dive deep into the mystical visions of a global Islamic order, where martyrdom and jihad pave the path to divine victory. We'll explore how these ancient beliefs shape Iran's every move, from its fiery rhetoric to its deadly proxy wars. From the revolutionary sermons of Ayatollah Khomeini, who ignited a nation, to the shadow wars of spies, cyber attacks, and missiles that have pushed the region to the brink. We'll trace the arc of a regime bent on reshaping history, and we'll reveal the climactic moment when Israel struck back with Operation Rising Lion, a daring, high-stakes operation that shook the world and redefined the conflict. This is not just the story of a nation, but of a creed that seeks to rewrite the future, a conflict that threatens to engulf us all. Join us as we expose the hidden truths behind what Iran sees as its sacred mission, its unrelenting rage, and the battle for our world's destiny. To watch this JTV Plus documentary and access much more premium content, click on the link in the video description.